No, I'm not vice chair.
So you get with Stevens Creek?
No.
All right. We'll do it. We have 30 seconds or so, right? Oh, it's time. All right.
We're live, okay.
He's a really talented musician. He can play everything. Keyboard, guitar, brass.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Call to order the special meeting of the Marine Advisory Board on January 28th, I believe it is, to discuss issues surrounding and a letter for Stevenson Creek. We have at least one new member, though, this morning, right? David,
Yes.
can you introduce yourself?
I'm David Farrar, and welcome to the group, I guess.
Good, good. Welcome. Glad to have you. I presume we have someone from Stevenson Creek, or do we need to have some discussion? The purpose, I think, has been to finish this letter, and assuming the board agrees to go ahead and send this letter. I had one question just to start. I see this letter is addressed to the city council. Wasn't there some discussion about something for the county, because everybody has approved the dock action, as I understood it, on Stevenson's Creek, with the exception of the county? Is that right? Can anybody enlighten me or not?
No, the county approved it.
The county did approve it. Okay. Okay. So this letter today is indeed just a letter to the city council, proposed letter.
Very good.
Good morning. Any comments or additions that you gentlemen want to introduce yourselves, please?
Hi, I'm Tim Hughes. I live very close to Stevenson Creek Aquatic Preserve, and we fully support this letter. We being the Stevenson Creek Advocacy Group, Mike Foley here, who's spoken on several occasions. So we fully support this letter. It really provides the data. It supports the data that's been collected by the Stevenson Creek experts. We got some subject experts. That's the navigation safety guy, and also the manatee expert. So anyway, to keep it all short, we just really support what you're doing with this letter. We think it should go forward. We also want to emphasize that we think the manatee protection zone should go from the bridge all the way to the headwaters of the aquatic preserve. We think that's very important, especially at the bridge where it's a narrow channel, and that narrow channel is going to you got boaters and you got manatees alike conflicting, traveling through that channel. So we think that a manatee protection zone just outside the bridge into the aquatic preserve will be very appropriate. Mike, would you like to add anything?
Yeah. My name is Mike Foley. I live at 1809 Apache Trail, and I've been working on the Stevenson Creek project for about 30 years. Originally, it was going to be channelized, and myself and many neighbors gathered around, and we had a public meeting with over 400 people showed up to oppose the channelization, and that was effectively, we saved the creek from destruction at that time. Now today, and the important thing is that started a process of restoration. Urban creek restoration is not common. Usually they degrade over time in urban areas. And because of, we have a website, stevensonCreek.org. I know many of you have seen it. And we try there to document the restoration process that took place on the creek. And it went from a polluted ditch 30 years ago into a model of urban creek restoration. And we want it to be a model for the state of Florida. We believe it's worth it. We believe that it's an important for not only the wildlife, but eventually in its final stages, we hope it's going to bring fishing back to some degree as an estuary. It's a place where fish and other creatures propagate, so it's good for the environment in general. This letter that you've written, if we decide to appeal the county's decision to approve, this cannot be introduced as evidence because that appeal process only allows evidence to be presented that's already on the record. However, they do have on the record our manatee habitat report from SaveTheManatee.org, the state group that protects the manatees. And it also has on the record the marine safety report that we have in our files, that is done by a former master captain in the U.S. Coast Guard. So I'm just here to say thanks for your support. We're glad everybody's figured out what's going on there. It was not well known. And, additionally, I'd like to say that Clearwater has stepped up on Stevenson Creek. They were, originally the plan was to pave it back in the 90s. And that would have removed any possibility of the creek ever being restored. And it was Clearwater that made the decision to step up and build the Glen Oaks, I call it a water park. Glen Oaks cleans the water, controls the flooding, and provides a valuable parkland. And because of Glen Oaks, there are, along the whole creek watershed, the city of Clearwater has implemented many Clean Water Act improvements. And that's why the manatees are coming back in, because they require fresh water. They feed out in the harbor where there's seagrass, and they come into Stevenson Creek for fresh water. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike. Are there any
Any questions?
questions? Yeah, comments from board members?
Yeah, I certainly do. There's been a manatee count
Yes.
in Stevenson Creek, correct?
Yes, sir.
I don't know who drafted the letter for us to review, but no mention of the count was in there. So what is the count?
At the beginning of this month, it was over 200.
Per,
A period of 9 months. The report goes on, we're doing the study for 12 months. But we felt that the number had hit so high that people ought to know. So we released a preliminary report.
How far upstream have any of those manatees been
All the way up to
documented?
Betty Lane.
Okay,
Betty Lane is where the fresh water and the salt water tend to start.
right, that big basin.
merging. And they like to go all the way up to Betty Lane where it's easy to get the fresh
Okay.
water.
My question, reason I asked that question, what's the water depth on the balance of that watershed? Because the depth where the docks are and the depth under the bridge, you kind of see where I'm going with that.
Yes.
If a manatee needs 3 feet of water to
Yes.
swim in, obviously, when he gets to 3 feet, he's not going to go any farther. So my question is, if that depth is right at the 3 feet, and you go impede that with floating docks, with vessel hulls, et cetera, then you kind of block them, block their
right.
access upstream.
Yeah, I understand. I'm going to throw a number out there, 3 foot is the average depth.
Okay,
It's as low as 1 foot in places, but there's a channel, and it's a narrow channel. It's
and
no-
it's- I wouldn't call it a channel, more it's like a ditch, like a wheel ditch. But the point is, if you put all that structure to the south of that, over by the shuffleboard court, that's very, very shallow.
Yes,
And so your deeper water is to the north, which is where the docks are gonna go. If you impede that with docks and boats, then obviously they cannot get around across the flats
that's the,
and cannot get to the brackish water blend up by Betty Lane.
yeah,
So
if there were 6 feet of water out there, I don't think we'd be sitting here today and talking to you.
Well, they would.
The fact that it's only 1 to 3 foot it gets up to 4 foot in a couple of places. It makes it really hazardous for boats and manatees.
It's very-
There's just
very
not
time
enough
sensitive.
Yeah, but
room.
if the docks are there, they're gonna swim under the dock. The dock's not gonna stop.
Assuming
them
there's
from-
enough, that's my
Well, I'm saying,
point.
though, you
Assuming
can't get a
there's
boat
enough
in
water
and out
depth.
of, you couldn't get a boat to the dock if it's
No, but
at
if there
least
are
3 feet
boats,
of water.
if there are boats moored in those slips, your 3 feet now is down to 1 or 2 feet, and that would block them effectively.
Those boats will be on lifts,
Yeah, that's the other thing.
because they'll sit in the mud if they aren't.
Right, that's what I mean. I mean, so they're, I knew that, what you're saying. So they're all on lifts, so.
Had they been asking for lifts? I hadn't seen that. It just said docks. I guess once you got a dock, you can do whatever you want.
It looks to me, yes, sir.
To me, it begs the question of what kind of boats are gonna be in there. I mean, we were talking earlier, what's the clearance under the
That-
bridge at high tide and at low tide? And if it's
At
like-
low tide, there's not a clearance problem above the boat. There's plenty of room for above, but they're gonna prop dredge down low at low tides.
But the two things
I don't
that I
think it's
thought-
passable at low
So, yeah,
tide.
so my point is, what kind of boats are gonna be able to get in there? And I haven't seen anything about dredging in there, so.
The only idea I have is in their advertising for the Serena, they have pictures of small motorboats. I don't know, I'm gonna say 17 foot or something like that would be the biggest one. I mean, it's just,
You can't get in there with a boat with a T-top.
at high
Exactly.
tide, you're gonna duck your head down low to get through the thing. You're gonna lower your mini top. You can't get through it with that.
If you've got a T-top, you're not getting through it at all.
No, you're not gonna get it through. It's very restrictive, and I have letters on our website that riparian residents who boat that area have submitted, who claim that there's only 3 hours when they go out, and then if they don't get it, they can't spend a day out. If they try to get back in, they can't get back
You
in.
gotta skip the high, skip the low.
Yeah.
So why isn't that mentioned in the draft letter? It
Well, I
seems
don't
like that's a
know.
pretty key point.
I wasn't in on the drafting of the letter, but
Well, your group drafted
there's a
the
lot
letter.
of information that's not in the letter because it's just, we try to keep it to one page. We
No,
don't wanna make it
I understand that. It just seems like, first of all, to mention how many manatees are in there to drive that point home. And then it seems like with the clearance, as we were saying, the clearance from the bottom of the bridge to the water level, depending on high or low tide, right? It restricts the number of boat types that can get in there.
Yes, sir, it does.
To your point, and it's a very good point, if you were to attach the reports, the navigation safety report by the captain, who is a subject expert, as well as the manatees safety report by that subject expert, we think if you attach it to the letter, it'll provide the information that you had just brought up.
And I understand that. I think my point is, if we send a letter like this, or we put our okay on it, right? I don't think it's complete, is what I'm saying. And
Misses a lot of points in your favor.
yeah, I absolutely does. And I think that from my standpoint, as it stands right now, I would reword it a little bit and put these kinds of items in it. Keep it to one page. But as of right now, I wouldn't approve this because I don't think it does what you want it to do.
It stops short.
I think it stops short, absolutely.
You need water depth, which is not mentioned. I read the report that your captain presented. It doesn't really address water depth, especially in the area where the docks are to be. And the other thing to me, though, that's more critical is give me a high tide and a low tide water depth under the bridge and a high tide and low tide air draft between the water and the bottom of the bridge. Because that to me is what is going to be restrictive. That's the choke point. And then potentially the physical location of the docks is another choke point because you have no water to the south. And if you highlight that, then it appears, even a layperson would potentially say, gee, it looks like the docks are in the way, and the same question he just had, by the way, what can you bring into the docks besides a kayak? I've been under that bridge many times in a kayak and a flats boat, and it's,
Yeah.
it's low.
I'm
Who's
gonna
gonna
ask
put
one
in a
question, and
drawbridge?
it's probably not.
I see it
Could be a
as
question.
two issues. One is the manatee protection zone. And I think that's documented enough in our manatee habitat report.
It is, but then again, there's no structure in the way, there's nothing impeding the manatees right now. So fast forward, if that impediment is present, what will that potentially prevent? You're gonna block the water depth that the manatees need at low tide. They're either gonna be trapped upstream or trapped out until the tide allows them to move
Yeah.
past the choke point.
Well, what is the depth of the channel in front of the docks at low tide?
At low tide, about a foot,
Huh?
foot and a half, 2 foot, so it's the morphology of the creek there. And there's a rule of nature that even if it's dredged deeper, that in a moving body of water, the morphology will revert to its former morphology.
Oh, yeah.
Over time.
And we know this, we fill them in, we dig them out and then they fill back in, and it
I
takes a
know.
while.
I dredge behind my house. doesn't it?
Yeah.
Wait,
It's a complicated issue, and the depths have been measured both by the developer and the county. And on our website, we have some depth reports there. We're not prepared to do in-depth, our group is not prepared to do that.
So are we saying that the water is deeper under where the dock's gonna be at low tide than it is in the channel?
No.
Then maybe I'm in the minority here, but I'm really not understanding why it's a big deal to have the docks myself. Because
Yeah.
the docks are not, I've not heard one thing that says that the docks are an issue. They're, at low tide, they're not restricting, they're not doing anything for the manatees. It's the same depth there it is in the channel. And with the docks and the boats up, the manatees can swim under the docks. They do at my house,
But how much water's under the dock at your house?
Depends on where,
The least amount,
2 feet.
okay?
If the part I didn't dredge, the part I did dredge is 5 feet.
Okay.
But all I'm saying is, the pilings are not restricting a manatee, and they're not restricting the flow of the boats. And at low tide, you've got minimum amount of boats that are gonna get in and out of there anyway, so they're not in the middle of the way. Other than the fact if somebody doesn't want a dock, I don't really understand
Well,
what's the big deal with the
Well,
dock.
here's the way I look at it. The channel meanders,
Yeah,
and at the docks, the channel is over by the docks. Right, they're built right up into it, actually.
Exactly.
Into the channel. The channel's narrow, and at low tide, it's not passable by anything.
but it still wouldn't be passable if the docks weren't there, because it's still 1.5 feet deep of water in the channel and out of the channel. So anyway, you look at it, you're not going up and down that channel at 1.5 feet unless you're in a
No.
flats boat anyway.
No, and there's gonna be prop dredge.
I understand
Which is
that.
detrimental in itself.
It's gonna exist with or without the dock, because it's still
Yeah,
1.5
nobody
feet deep
goes-
of water.
The only people who use it at those times are kayaks.
So we don't have prop
No.
dredge issues, because kayaks don't have props.
Kayaks and paddle boards come in there all the time.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I think we're arguing against ourselves, because the same reason we're saying we don't need them, we're saying doesn't exist. So that's the part I'm
It's a-
missing.
it's
Prop
a-
dredge is an issue, but there can't be a prop dredge
I know
because
it's
it's
an
not deep.
arguable issue on every side, I understand.
I'm not even trying to argue, I'm just looking at it on the
No.
logical side of it,
Well,
as
I
an
mean-
outsider looking in, going, I'm still missing what the problem
I
with
don't see
having a
prop
dock is.
dredging being an issue at all. What I'm seeing, I know that body of water fairly well, and I don't really even call it a channel, but the swash runs very close to the shoreline, to the
Yes,
north
it
shoreline, at the point where the docks are proposed, which is probably one of the reasons they proposed them where they did, because the the deep water, deep being subjective, the docks appear on the drawing to go through, all the way across the, what I'm gonna call the swash. It's not really a channel, it's not a maintained channel. But as the water flows, of course, it's gonna follow the bank, and that's why it swings in close there and it comes back out and goes under, for the most part, under the main span of the bridge, under the center span. But the dock itself, the whole structure, is gonna occupy that swash channel.
But you're talking pilings, you're not talking about a wall. I mean, the water's still gonna flow under the dock just like it would
Right,
without
but if
the
the water's only 3 feet deep, and you've got a floating dock.
They're not
that's gonna
floating
go-
docks, though.
Are
Am I
they floating
incorrect?
docks?
Those aren't floating docks, are they?
I think they are.
I thought they're fixed docks. How are you gonna put a boat
You know,
lift on a floating dock?
honestly, I can't tell.
What
Well,
I've
a-
seen, it
a
was not
picture would be
am I
worth
in-
a
Is it a floating
1,000
dock or
words.
is it?
You're talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If-
I haven't seen the permit. I didn't know it was released, so I don't know what changes were
Yeah,
made.
I've not seen anything that made me think it was a floating dock.
If we had a drawing or an aerial view, it would show that the docks come out approximately 100 feet and 80 feet wide. You got over 40 pylons. And I think it would be appropriate if we could display a print
Right.
showing that.
So if we have 40 pylons, they're
Especially-
not floating docks.
Especially as it relates to its proximity to the bridge. Now, a lot of the manatee data that Mike has alluded to, a lot of the manatees have been sighted where the docks
Right, exactly.
are proposed to be built.
I understand that, but with a piling, they're gonna swim around the piling. The pilings are not gonna stop the manatees from swimming up there. It can't be floating docks if you've got that many pilings, because a floating dock's gonna have very minimum amount of pilings,
Well, I
because they're
think
gonna be
there's
floating.
lifts involved.
Beg your pardon?
I think there's lifts involved.
That's what, and that's the other one. If you've got floating docks, you're not gonna put a lift in on a floating dock, because you couldn't even get around it then. So, that's why I'm saying, I've not seen
And
anything.
I get what you're saying, and I tend to agree with you. The point I was making earlier, though, is, is this, to me, this is more a marketing ploy by the developer to appease people who are gonna live there and want a boat, whether it's a kayak, a rowboat, or maybe a 17-foot with a motor. Because the restrictions getting under that bridge are gonna dictate a lot. And,
And water depth, if it comes out 100
And-
feet, that's the entire width of the
I
channel.
agree 100%.
That would keep
Mr.
any
Randall.
other vessels from coming in or out, because that dock would block the deep water.
If you look along Edgewater Drive, there are older piers. None of them have boats because they just can't have them there. They built the piers, they tried to put the boats in, boats end up on their side in
Exactly
the
what you're
water, the high water comes in and floods them out. Also, on Stevenson Creek, there are 9 other docks owned by homeowners. 4 of them are not used because they tried having a boat and it was senseless. And the expense of a boat that just sits there, they sold the boat. It's gone. There's a few boats in there and a few, I only know of 2 boaters who actually use their boats, and they've got letters in there saying they can only get out at a couple hours a day. And they don't use it very much.
So they're really using their dock to go sit on in the afternoon and watch the manatees swim by.
That's right.
Okay.
Gabrielle Lakey here has a boat, and he can speak to that issue
Right.
personally.
Yeah, so it seems to me like, correct me if I'm wrong, the biggest issue is, the fear is if you build a dock, there's gonna be more boats. And the more boats is the issue with the manatees and the environment,
We're
correct?
also concerned that it sets a precedent,
Well,
and that's one of our concerns. If they build it, the next guy, they have another development going on right next to it, are they gonna put 9 more? Is it gonna be turned into a marina?
but I think the precedence was set when they built the first 2 docks in from the homeowners that it's okay to have a dock on the water.
Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of where the
and-
precedent
And
is.
I think,
That stuff's turn
I
of the
think there's
century.
law on
Beg your
this.
pardon?
That stuff's turn of the century.
Doesn't matter, they're there. I mean, it's kind of like going, I can't have one, but
Well,
you
nah.
can. You know,
You open up a whole nother can of worms now.
I got it,
with-
but I'm just saying,
with land
I'm going
leases,
back to saying,
riparian.
I believe the issue that I've heard at every meeting is, there's gonna be more boats back there. But I think the flip side of that is, you just, and your own argument is, the water's so shallow that there's not gonna probably
Yeah.
be more boats back there.
And
Just
there-
more people sitting on docks.
Well, there's been talks about at the Lawn Bowl Center to put in a dock for kayaks and paddleboards. And that came up first about 2000, when the restoration was in full play. And I had, at that time, I said to Tom Miller, who was the department head of the environmental department in the Clearwater, don't do it. He said, why? I said, because of Marshall Street. Marshall Street had not been upgraded, and there was effluent coming into the creek a lot. It was so much, the bacteria count was even affecting the harbor and the pass and the Clearwater Beach. There were fecal counts all up and down the entire section, and that's not healthy. So at that time, I was on the environmental board. I said to Tom Miller, I wouldn't put docks there. I think it's too liable because somebody gets sick. And but now that's changed quite a bit because Marshall Street's been upgraded, and I think it's perfectly suitable for a kayak dock, paddleboard dock. I just don't, I think, okay, in my mind, I live in Serena. My relatives visit. Teenage boy says, I'd like to use the boat. I hand him the keys. He goes down there, he starts spinning around in the estuary where the manatees are. That's not, I mean, it's a fiction, but it will, that kind of thing will happen. I've seen boats out there, flat bottom boats.
I agree with, listen, I lived on Mandalay, up in Palm Harbor, back in there as
Well, you know, there's,
And I've seen all that stupidity that you're talking about,
yeah,
okay? At low tide,
careless.
half of that was,
And here we have spent millions and millions of dollars on the upgrades, the clean water implements, the Marshall Street plant, all the maintenance that takes place on these parks, these water treatment, natural water treatment, vegetated parks. A lot of effort's gone into bringing this estuary up to the point where it's actually becoming viable. And to your point about the advertising, that's what I believe that's what it is. It's an advertising issue. It's, if I put docks out there, next guy walks in the door is gonna wanna buy one, you know?
but I think you've also just answered what I said. You're not against the dock, you're just against the motor boat, the power boat.
Yeah, yeah.
So the dock isn't the issue, it's the boat is the issue.
And as the harbor, as the captain of the USGS said, it's just overbuilt. It's just, he said, I'm not opposed to docks. He said, and I'm going to be fair in my assessment. He says, I don't have a problem with the dock. It's overbuilt for the area where it sits.
No, it does, to me, it doesn't make sense if, and again, I agree with Ray. You can build the docks, but what kind of boat I mean, why would you buy the dock, and what kind of boat would you put there? And so, I mean, people do crazy things, so somebody's gonna buy those docks, and, you know.
Well,
The creek is
another-
gonna just self-regulate.
Another belief, and it's only a belief, it's not anything that's ever happened. There's a new kind of boat called a jet boat. I don't know if you've
I
probably
haven't
heard of them.
They're back in
And
players.
we're a little concerned that if the motorboats prove to be as difficult as we think they're gonna be, that these little jet boats that'll run in 6 inches of water
Yeah, but I can tell you the
Might
flip side of
become-
that,
might
they're
become-
vacuum cleaners, they suck everything up.
Yeah.
You,
yeah,
you
they
don't
do.
wanna go in
No.
seagrass with jet boats.
No, nothing like that.
I know,
yeah.
They're
I
not,
think
they're
that
not
there's
really new.
really two
Jet
separate,
ski.
two separate
Jet
issues.
skis could get
Yeah.
under that bridge, couldn't they?
And they're-
One issue is the manatee protection zone and getting an ordinance for the manatee protection zone. And that's really separate from the docks. So our first goal is to get a manatee protection zone and get an ordinance written and approved by the city, and then to implement that.
And what would that
That would
language be?
that's a
Let's-
separate issue from the
let's-
docks.
There's no signage out
can I-
there.
What does that mean?
Well,
Let-
there's
let-
no
let me-
signage out there talking about manatees except for one sign that Mr. McDonald had put up at our request. And it's on the bridge at where the Pinellas Trail crosses, and it says manatees, caution. But there's no speed limit in there right now. There's been 6 manatee deaths that have been documented. I know it goes back to 2016, but Tim found them on the USGS at the UFW, at the FWC. 6 manatee deaths, 4 of which were caused by boats inside the estuary of Stevenson Creek. Outside the estuary of Stevenson Creek, there's been 28 total manatee deaths in the harbor, and there's signage out there. We just think some signage.
Isn't there a sign just east of the bridge by about 100 yards
About
facing
a-
west?
He said 100 yards, it's something like that.
But even with the
Maybe even
signs,
further.
it wouldn't be a no wake, right?
Oh, yeah, we're not concerned with erosion.
No, but the speed's what's killing the manatees, not,
Yes.
if you're idling,
You
it's a
can't
different.
see them.
Right, that's what I'm saying,
And
so,
also jet skis come in there a lot and race around. Not a lot, but
no, I understand
occasionally.
that. So once again, why wouldn't we be trying to introduce a no wake through the whole, once you hit the bridge, it's no wake?
Well, the
Then it'll-
manatees, we think the manatee protection zone will.
Yeah,
give
the
us
manatee
more coverage.
protection zone, that would make that a slow speed minimum wake, just like
Okay,
the
so
other
that's what I'm
areas.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, to me, I would rather be fighting for that than worry
Yeah,
about
we
the
want
docks.
you to support that,
Yeah.
and that's what we're real, that's our main issue.
That I 100% support.
Yeah, if they build the docks, I think it's gonna be overbuilt, I think it's gonna sit there, I think the boats are gonna just, people are gonna find they can't use them, or if they do, they get stuck and all this. I hate to see them go through that rigmarole. We're happy to see kayaks, paddle boards, I think that's harmless, basically.
Right.
They're in there all the time, these guys, they come in there fishing with their kayaks and all that stuff, and that's wonderful, we like to see it,
So to kind of wrap this a bit,
yeah.
what we're saying is the best thing that could happen there is a manatee protection zone,
To me.
where you can regulate the speed.
Speed.
And as far as the docks go, if they build it, it doesn't damage or really danger the manatees. It's just that it's kind of foolish because of the clearances under the road, under the bridge.
Well, I think,
Is that,
if they build those docks and we start to see use in there, I don't think it's gonna help the manatees at all. I think it may be detrimental to their habitat. And I think that, one of the things we're hoping too in the future to start is the seagrass replenishment program. And that's something that, it used to have seagrass in there, even when the pollution was in there. The Army Corps of Engineers came in there and of 2011, 2014, dredged the whole thing because there was 3-4 feet of muck on the bottom that was urban pollution that had been created over 50, 60 years. Erosion, as well as oils and greases. It was anaerobic muck. It was terrible, stunk, the sulfur and smells and all. Army Corps of Engineers dredged it out. They're a partner in this whole thing. And at the time, when they dredged it, it killed everything. The crabs disappeared. The fish were reduced in number, to just the wandering fish that came in. and the manatees stopped coming in there. And now, we're seeing the morphology go back to the level, but it's more of a granular materials, not the muck. And so it's an estuary. One thing we want to do, Marshall Street's going to get decommissioned in the future, the sewage treatment plant, because it's running at capacity, and development is still occurring. So they're going to pump the sewage up to the northeast plant. When that happens, just like on Island Estates, when they decommissioned that sewage treatment plant, they turned it into a marina, or a marine display with dolphins.
The aquarium.
Aquarium, pardon me. We think Marshall Street might make a suitable hatchery in one or two of the tanks. Try it out anyway. If you have a hatchery, you gotta have an estuary. Well, we got an estuary. We wanna keep it as healthy as possible. We want it to be improved and restored more. And my family came to Clearwater because of the fishing. My Uncle John used to come down here back in the 50s, go fishing. And he used the charter boats, which are gone. Where did they go? They went because there's no fish, or not, not like in the old days. And so an estuary could be helpful to the economy. Might get some more fish going on.
But wouldn't that encourage more boats?
In the ocean, yeah. They
But I
have the
mean,
small
back in the
fish.
channel, if they're dumping fish back there, weren't you gonna go under the bridge to fish?
No, not full, to propagate them,
Sure.
to get them started. And we need to get some seagrass back in there. There used to be seagrass. The turtle grass grew all through there. So,
Let me interject here, if I can. Can I talk for a minute, please?
Yeah.
So I think we've heard a lot of discussion, which has really been excellent and thorough, and it really gets through the issues quite well, I think. A point of clarification, first of all. This letter was written by the advocacy group, right? One of you authored it, or?
Sherry Day wrote it.
She wrote it.
She's our president.
So it seems to me that the options in front of us this morning were, A, to approve the letter as written, but I think the discussion says that this letter ought to focus more on the manatee protection zone issue and maybe not even have this paragraph in here about opposition to the large commercial docks. That's something we need to decide. So we may have to ask for this letter to be redone.
Definitely.
If the letter, so, okay, so we are going to ask for the letter to be redone. And then it's a question of mechanics and how that gets done. Mike, if this letter is redone, do we have another meeting to discuss the letter? I mean, how many times do we meet to discuss the letter before something gets
We
sent?
can't introduce it to an appeal at the county anyway.
I understand
So
that.
we
I'm
don't
not talking
worry
about, this
timing.
was not part of an
Timing's
appeal
not an
letter
issue.
anyway. It was just a letter to the city council. Mike, what
So,
process-wise?
This is going to be your all's letter, however you guys like to do that. You could do that now. You could edit the letter now and come to some sort of consensus. Or you can have them rewrite it and send it back and we go through the process again. The chairman is, he can call a special meeting at any point, or we can reconvene at our next scheduled meeting, which is March 18th. So
Right. Well,
it's really
Can
up to
we
you
do a
guys how
vote
you
by
like to
email?
proceed. I'm sorry?
Can we do a vote by everybody? We get a copy of the letter and then we just vote?
Oh, you have to do it in the sunshine, so it
So
has
it
to be
has
at
to
a
be in-
meeting.
okay, I
Yeah,
gotcha.
to vote to approve that letter.
That's what I thought.
So,
So I guess what we need is a recommendation from someone as to how to proceed. It sounds to me like the way to proceed is the letter should be rewritten. It should include more facts and data about the manatee data that you've accumulated. It ought to focus on the manatee protection zone. At least that's the sense that I got.
I agree.
What does
I'm
everyone else?
100%.
And if you
Yeah.
want to address water depth, get documented information from a manatee expert and say a manatee needs, 24 inches of water to navigate, and then say this so-called channel is only 18 inches at low tide. Forget the docks, like they were saying. But if we're after the manatee aspect, the manatee cannot swim up there in less than X amount of water, and the docks are going to be right over top of that.
I disagree with that. I mean, the docks are not an issue.
No, that's what I'm
with
saying.
manatee.
Forget the
Yeah, I think
docks.
I know,
Say-
but you're saying the docks are gonna be over it. It's 18 inches with or without a dock. So
Right.
addressing the depth of the channel for the manatees are really saying, we don't want manatees are never gonna swim up there at low tide anyway. With or
Right.
without the docks, they're not gonna swim.
I think we all agree that the focus be on the manatee protection
agree.
zone.
Yeah.
But be logical with what we're,
And we'll be happy to edit the letter, rewrite it, exclude for this, because step one is the manatee protection zone.
Correct, correct.
Like that.
So we
Okay.
appreciate your support for that.
Okay, so let's do
Yeah, I
that,
think
and
you've
and
got,
we'll
I
get
think
it.
you've
Mike,
got our support for that.
Mike will distribute, just a second, but if we proceed this way, Mike will distribute to us that revised letter, and then I guess we'll either have to have another meeting or get it done in March.
let's do it in March.
Okay, sir, you have something you want to bring up, or?
Well, you're gonna move the table, it doesn't matter what I say.
Well, let me add too, that if I send you the letter, you can work on it on your own and edit it on your own, and then bring that letter to the board.
Right, we just can't send it to each other.
Right, you can't send it to each other,
Right.
so that's another option that you can do as
You're
well.
referring, Mike, you're referring to a revised.
Correct, so
Yeah,
if
okay.
they send me a letter, I send it to you guys can work on it individually, and then
Okay.
show, what you've adopted to the board.
Can
and
they
then
do
y'all
that
can
with the letter
discuss.
they have now?
No, because I can't, because I don't have the data in here
Yeah, I was
about the
gonna say, we
manatee
don't have the data
observations.
you have. I think there's,
Yeah, we have given Mike the manatee habitat report, and he's also got the safety navigation report.
I would just ask the original person to rewrite the letter.
Correct.
Yeah.
And put more.
Include all
put
of
more
those
stats
things, yeah.
in there.
Okay.
And I'll send you guys all the information that I have when they've re-forwarded me the revised letter.
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I think you've got general support here with the board. However, if we're gonna put our name on a draft, I think we need to be more focused than, and, there's some really tough wording in here.
It's a strong letter.
Using, words like extraordinary and so on that, I don't know that I would strongly urge and things like that. Let's focus on what we're trying to really demonstrate,
Yes.
Because somebody's gonna pick it apart,
yeah.
which is kind of what we did amongst ourselves
You're
today.
right, and
It's
we'll
gonna be
keep
picked
the
apart, so
facts.
let's find an angle that's a little more bulletproof.
Yeah,
If we
we-
concentrate on the manatee situation,
Yeah.
you're gonna choke the boaters out anyway.
And
The
we
more-
realize
the more
this,
restrictions you
it's a
put
really
against-
good focus to be on the manatee protection zone, especially as it relates to, it's important, your letter of support is really important with the zone as it relates to creating an ordinance
To the-
that the city will have to draft, and then they have to implement.
And
the
then they have
ordinance.
to send it to the FWC.
So we appreciate this focus on that. We really do. Yeah.
Thank you. I think we've concluded. Is there a gentleman, did you have something you wanted to bring, or?
I should have gone first.
You have to introduce yourself.
Sorry, we didn't mean to shut you out there with,
Yeah, Darrell Lakey, 1792 Overbrook Avenue, Clearwater, Florida. I've lived on the creek for 7 years, 6.5. I am a boater. I do have a dock. I have a Tahoe. It's an 18-foot. It's a bow rider. My draw is 24 inches. Where do I start? You guys have talked about so much here.
I should warn you, you have 3 minutes with the little.
Yeah,
lights.
I know. It's
Sorry.
no time to do that. I can get out between a 1.2 tide and a 3.2 tide. That gives me about 5-6 hours a day to go out there at times. The manatee protection zone is needed, and I thank Mike, for all of his hard work that we've been working on this for 2 years. Well, I have. The speed zone is what I'm concerned about. Because boaters fly up and down there, not regularly, but enough to cause an issue. Now, Mike, you set up the, what's the name of it? Between the bridges, last year they put up
Speed
the,
zone, right.
the speed zone,
Either side of the
but
bridges.
that's only between the bridges.
Right.
So between the bridges, you know, they fly like hell. And I live between the Pinellas Trail and the Douglas overpass or crossing, right in the middle there, of the Pink House. And you're welcome to come by and visit and look and watch the manatees come by. Anyway, getting back to the docks or the manatee protection zone, we need it because they come flying through there a lot. Now, what happens with the docks, last I read, they come out 80 feet, yeah, from the North Shore. That's where the main channel is. You can call it a ditch or whatever the heck you want to call it. It's the main channels on the north side. And I wish you guys would have been with the CDB when they approved this, you know, 2 years ago in the county. Yeah, you guys seem more on the ball than everybody else. That dock comes out 80 feet. You need at least 10 feet, past that to pass safely. Now you're in that, where the city laid all that, backfill to plant the mangroves 10 years ago or whatever it was. It's cut down that channel to that north side. And your manatees need 3 feet of water to go through. And with this last 2 hurricanes, that raised the level of the depth about 1.5 feet, most of the creek, especially on that north side there, and in front of my house. Okay, all right.
Well, Darrell, thank you.
We're seeing a lot of dolphins in there too. They have mullet come
Yeah.
in there, and they round the mullet up. It's easy prey for them in there.
Okay. So I remember when we first discussed in here a year or two ago, the idea of putting the markers on either side of the bridge, and the hope was that in between the bridges and those markers, there wouldn't be a lot of room for people to really power up and rip through there, but I guess it's still an issue. So hopefully what we've concluded, this morning might be a step in addressing that with the manatee protection
It's
zone.
not that common. 99% of traffic out there is paddleboards and kayaks. Kayaks mostly.
Sure.
We had even proposed at the shuffleboard facility, putting in a kayak launch there.
Yeah,
The
that's a
cost
great
would be-
idea.
Cost would be virtually nothing. You've already got parking.
Parking.
You already got the cut
It's-
and the mangroves.
And they're doing it now, the kayakers
Oh, yeah,
are coming
yeah.
up there, walking through the mangroves.
Sure.
Tommy picks up trash, uses that site to launch. You know about him, right? Our caretaker of the group. He's a wonderful man. He's a retired banker. Anyway, thanks, fellas.
All right.
you.
Thank you all for coming. Any other comments this morning? All right, meeting stands adjourned.
Hey, would you like a director's report for you? Would you like a director's report for you?
Oh, do I have to undo my gavel?
There's citizens to be heard regarding items not on the agenda, which we didn't do
I
before.
didn't follow the agenda as
Yeah.
a special meeting. I wasn't sure if I needed to do that, sorry.
You're good, so we'll just do citizens to be heard regarding items not on the agenda now.
Okay.
Before we, and
We're-
then we'll go to you.
So we're still in session. Are there any other items to be heard? Yes, sir.
If I could just make a short comment, and it will be short. My name is Rudy Michaelek. I live on Clearwater Beach, 855 Bayway Boulevard. And the reason I just wanted to share a comment is, we have a yacht club that's on Bayway, and there's a body of water behind it. The city council had approved the ability of a hotel, a small boutique hotel, now to be a 60-unit, 9-story monolith with docks. The docks that had been there even have a sign that says caution manatee area. When we arrived there back in the 90s, you could go see the manatees. Nothing, they're gone because of the number of boats, I think, that are now coming into the area. The seagrass has been damaged, and there's a lot of private homes also on that short body of water that have now added docks with boats. And so that's all I wanted to share with you, kind of a fast forward, what could happen 10 years from now with this specific body of water. And you had already addressed the protection zone, which I assume is from that 1978 Act, the Manatee Sanctuary Act. So I don't need to address that. That's all I wanted to say. Fast forward, where I live now, that's what we have with the development.
If I may correct you a little bit, though, there are manatees occasionally in there.
We've had a
I
very
can,
hard
I'm,
time seeing it.
I'm a member of Clearwater Yacht Club.
Oh.
I've seen, I'm the rear Commodore, I have seen manatees in there,
How recently can I ask?
back several months ago,
Oh.
you know.
Well,
Now,
it's
they're
kinda
not in there
showing
every
now.
day,
Okay.
but there's an occasional sighting of, oh crap, there's a manatee.
I'm
type thing.
glad to hear
Yeah,
that, because we
yeah.
frequently go out there
Yeah.
and we haven't. So
And the
thank you
docks for
that.
the hotel existed way before the hotel. They were part of the other property that was there, the
been a long
condos.
time.
They didn't build the docks for the hotel.
Yeah.
The docks, they tore the other property down and built a hotel, but the marina existed way before
Oh, yeah, no,
the hotel.
the marinas
Yeah.
had it, and I think they're also getting 10 additional docks as related to that hotel, because the hotel's now gonna have 28 docks on it.
I don't know, I didn't hear anything about additional docks. That's totally news to me.
Is that entire waterway now slow speed?
No.
Okay. And we used to drag race and water ski when we were kids.
We'd like to see it, no way.
Well, I thank you for that, I made
Yes.
the point I wanted to share, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We have a director's report this morning?
Yeah, so we did the feasibility study for Stevenson's Creek on looking at a slow-speed minimum wake zone throughout there. We did the presentation to you all. And the best course of action is through the local ordinance manatee projection zone. So with using the citizen science, so Stevenson's Creek Advocacy Group went out, they got a bunch of data, and I have reached out to FWC, had a meeting with them. They're in support of this. So what our next steps are is to define the boundaries of this manatee zone, which is going to be between the first bridge and the third bridge. That after that third bridge, it's slow speed minimum wake throughout there. And so we're going to draft an ordinance, draft a letter of intent to seek this manatee projection zone, and provide all the citizen data that Stevenson's Creek Advocacy Group has provided. So I'm going to send that over to FWC. They're going to review it and tell us if we need more information, if we need to change something that the ordinance says or something in the letter of intent. They're going to send it back. We're going to finalize everything. Then we're going to take the ordinance to council for their approval for the manatee zone, and then we'll submit everything to the state for a permit. So that's where we're at right now.
That
is
should
getting all the draft.
That should wrap this whole thing up then.
Yeah. So a part of that is to send, letters of the recommendation. So, Stevenson's Creek has provided us some of those letters to share with FWC too as part of the entire package. So that's where we're at. I just wanted to let you guys know where we're at, and we are pursuing the manatee zone for that creek.
That sounds like
So
you
with the draft letter.
forget the docks.
That we've been talking about from the group, if a letter came from the advisory board, that would.
That would support the.
Support what you
Yes,
just said.
the manatee
Correct.
zone, yes, correct.
Right.
Excellent.
So all the more reason why the memo that you guys write needs to really emphasize the manatee protection
The
zone.
docks almost become irrelevant.
Yeah, they do.
Correct.
And I think you hit the nail on the head there, but just forget the docks. If somebody's dumb enough to buy swampland,
Yeah, that's
Let 'em.
basically what they're doing.
let them. Yeah,
It's a great place to go sit, watch the manatees.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
ride your lift up and
Down
down.
to ride that and go watch the manatees.
So that's all I have.
That's all?
Thank you very much.
And one more time, is there anything from any other members of the board?
Nope.
Okay, now I think we can adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you.